ago.
Well, here's Bruce's New York rifle buck. Heck of a nice deer.
How wide is
20 inches outside?
No.
How wide is he?
Aaron measured him.
It's got to be
17,
close.
17 outside, maybe. But the
Heck of a nice deer.
best part is there's mine, and there's the 10-point. Tim shot him literally 20 minutes after I shot mine.
7. Okay, everybody, so you seen Ian's buck tonight, and about that time we got back, I got a text message of a picture from one of my buddies across the swamp, and well, the big 7's dead. He's dead. Unbelievable. So he's actually down at the neighbors, so we're gonna ride down there and check it out. But everybody that's followed my channel knows about the big 7. Found some sheds of him the past couple years and lots of pictures, and he's pretty much a homebody. And then all Bruce's food plots drove him across the swamp and got killed. So we're gonna go check him out. Oh my gosh, a Nazareth Road freaking legend. Look at that thing.
Shot on Catholic Road.
Slammer kills him. Oh, touched the big 7. What a deer. That is no doubt the nicest 7-point around. Unreal. That's a true Nazareth Road legend right there.
You guys gotta quit putting them on my side of the swamp. I told you guys, stop pushing them on my side of the swamp. I gotta kill them.
Unbelievable. That's for sure a 4.5. I think but it could be 5.5. But it's 100% 4.5.
He's old.
Yep.
He's old.
Look at the head on that thing.
Come out with a fawn.
Really?
Unbelievable. So tell us the story.
I looked out the window and he stepped out. So I grabbed my gun, my trusty rusty rifle, and I went around the corner, laid in the grass, and I shot him.
And there lay the big 7.
Does that look like a good enough retard?
Oh man, get right behind him and hold him up.
Making sure. You got to. Yep.
Unbelievable.
Definitely.
You're gonna get him mounted,
Yeah.
right? He's gonna say. You don't shoot deer like that every day.
Yep.
What a buck. Okay, everybody, so I'm editing this video, and it saddens me kind of editing this video, but I'm happy at the same time for you know, the neighbor that killed it. But anyways, so that buck that you just seen was what we call the big 7, and as with any big bucks on Nazareth Road, all the neighbors, everybody kind of knows about these big bucks. They kind of turn into like legends in a sense. Like with the buck we called Bruce Lee the past couple years that the neighbor ended up shooting, that was a buck that we all knew about, and we all had some trail cam pictures of them, and it was amazing how elusive they are when they get, you know, 4.5, 5.5 years old. And anyways, it's just such a story behind all these bucks, you know, all the way to their demise. And the big 7 story started 2 years ago when he was I think he's a 4.5-year-old. He could possibly be a 5-year-old, but I'm pretty positive he's he is a 4.5-year-old right now as he lays in the back of Slammer's pickup truck. But anyways, as a 2.5-year-old, this buck lived kind of behind the barn in the pines. I'd see him out there. He'd come out in the food plot quite a bit as a 2.5-year-old buck. And the amazing thing about, he had this exact same style rack all the way up till this year that he was killed. Anyways, that takes us to the next year. And as a 3.5-year-old, I got lots of pictures of him in velvet. He lived kind of in Cherry Ridge, which is a crossroad from below the barn. I got lots of velvet pictures of him, and he turned hardhorn, moved back over below the barn, got lots of pictures of him, disappeared. He actually disappeared for like, I mean, almost all of most of November, and I actually thought he got shot somewhere, and I didn't know about it. Anyways, he showed back up. I had a picture of him going through the pines below the barn with snow all over his face. I'm going to show you that picture right now. I seen that picture and I knew that the big 7 was back. And this was him as a 3.5-year-old. And he was actually a deer that I was hunting as a 3.5-year-old. And we hunted him and hunted him and hunted him. Never ended up, actually having any sightings of him while hunting. I got tons and tons of trail camera pictures of him on the standing corn that Carl left up out here. He was crossing the road. He was bedding in the pasture, crossing the road, feeding in that cornfield. And he was super hard to hunt. He was totally nocturnal. I mean, just hard deer to catch up with. Anyways, he made it through the winter, even though it was really dangerous because all these deer that were crossing, they had to cross the main road, Nazareth Road, to get to that cornfield. And there was a lot of deer that got smoked on that road throughout the entire length of winter that were crossing that road into that cornfield. Luckily, the big 7 was smart enough to elude, vehicles on the road. That brings us to one night. This was well after hunting season was over. I was upstairs, look out back. There's a big bodied deer walking across the field, and I look out, and sure enough, there's the big 7 walking across the field with one antler. And he had shed the one side. And so I figured that obviously that shed's going to be right over here in the pasture or right by Brian's field or somewhere out there. I looked all over for this deer sheds. Never found him anywhere. And then one night, Kaylee and I go back there woodchuck hunting on the gator, and I see our neighbor Brian out in the field like picking stuff up. I'm like, what in the world is he up to? I'll go see what's going on. Walk up there and he's got a whole handful of pieces of antler. And he's like, well, I hit a shed with a flail chopper and there's, pieces of horn everywhere right here. So of course that sparked my curiosity and I started putting these pieces together, and Kaylee and I were helping him find pieces. We ended up finding like 11 or 12 different pieces of antler. And we pieced it together, and sure enough, here's the left side of the big 7. And it is undoubtedly him. I actually made a video of putting this antler back together. And that brings us into this year, the 2019 hunting season. Velvet pictures of him were few and far between. I did get some velvet footage of him crossing the sluice pipe in Cherry Ridge. And I'll show you that right now. I got every picture I got of the big 7 this year was all in Cherry Ridge. Even up till hunting season, he was spending a lot of time in Cherry Ridge, and I actually had a buddy send me a picture of him across the swamp, the first week of November. And then I was getting pictures of him on our side the same week. So he was a deer that had no problem crossing that swamp, and that's a gnarly swamp in there, deep water, thick brush. I mean, it's not something that you would think would be very easy for them to cross, but that buck, it wasn't much of an obstacle to him. Anyways, that's the buck Monty and I, we were all hunting opening day down in there, the big 7. Of course, you've seen, if you're a patron of the channel, you've seen my hunt where I shot the buck that I shot, and then I had another one of our shooters walk up to me after. You can't make this stuff up. I couldn't believe it. But anyways, no sign of the big 7. I checked cameras. He wasn't in there at all. That brings us to the second night of rifle season, when I get a text message. I pick up my phone, and of course I see right away. I'll show you the message here. That right there was the picture that popped up, and I was just like, oh man, he's dead. And his story ends. A true Nazareth Road legend. For a buck, any buck that gets to 4.5 or 5.5 years old in the area that we're in is really amazing. I mean, not saying that, I guess I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but we get lots of hunting pressure around here, and there's a lot of really good hunters, and with that mix, it's hard to get bucks to that age. You know, we pretty much shoot 3.5-year-old bucks around here just because, I mean, that's a big buck around here. So when they get to 4.5 or 5.5, it's really a true trophy. So anyways, congratulations to Slammer for killing just an absolute brute of a buck. And I'm just going to end this video with tons and tons of trail cam pictures of him from last year and some from this year. And that'll be a wrap. I'm going to obviously have to take this shed over and let it rest with the head the rest of his life. So I don't know if I should just chuck this into Slammer's driveway, or you know what I should do? I should break it into 13 pieces and put it in his mailbox like it was, the way it was when we found it. But I'm just kidding. I'll give him the shed. It is what it is. You the man, Slammer. Have a good one, everybody.